and welcome to our new battle report. Before we get started, I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the people that have subscribed to our channel. So we've got 400 subscribers today. We really appreciate the support, that's fantastic. And I also want to say, if you enjoy our channel, you might also enjoy, there's a couple of other smaller, newish channels out there, Commissar Warwick and Winter's SEO. I'm a fan of both of those, links in the description. And now moving on then, with no further ado, my army today is going to be the Endless Swarm from the Tyranid Rising Leviathan supplement. That gives me 3 units of Hormigants and 2 units of Termagants. I'm taking just the standard guys from the book there, no upgrades. And you have to take a unit of Tyranid Warriors with that as well. So those guys are actually upgraded to Death Spitters and a Barb Strangler. And together they make their own formation called the Endless Swarm. And with that, whenever a Gaunt dies, whenever a whole unit of Gaunts are destroyed, I get to roll a die, and on a 4+, they get to come straight back in ongoing reserves. So potentially could just keep coming back forever. And then I've got a Flying Hive Tyrant as my HQ. He's the only thing I'm running that isn't quite what you see is what you get, because he's got the now standard thing everyone takes, the twin-linked Devourers with brain leaf worms. And his psychic powers are Paroxysm and the Horror. And his Warlord trait is Divide to Conquer. So Jonathan's forces will have a negative to their reserve roll, which I think is just going to be his plane. So I kind of like that the Hive Tyrant can potentially slow down the plane's arrival. And then my final unit is my brand new Trigon that I just painted yesterday in 8 hours, start to finish, and I can't wait to try him out. So yeah, there's my 800 point list. I feel like I've really squeezed a lot out of 800 points there. I'm really happy. Can't wait to see how this list performs.
Yep, quite a competitive list. He is utterly terrifying. I told Richard repeatedly how I find Trigons terrifying, and then Richard got one. So yeah.
It was partly because I know they scare Jonathan, and also partly because I think that the Trigon is the perfect addition to the Endless Swarm, because when the destroyed units come back in, they can come back in through the tunnel that the Trigon leaves, thereby finally making the Trigon's tunnel ability not utterly useless.
So then on my side, now this is 800 points of Orks. I've had to give a lot of options to bulk it up. Unfortunately, this is sort of all my Orks that I have painted currently. My fault for not painting quicker. But I have got here my Warboss on his Warbike. He's not got his Warbike buddies yet, so he's just going to be joining one of the other squads, I suspect. First time I've used him though, he's got a Lucky Stick as one of his options, that thing sticking at the back there. And pretty much what you see is what you get. So he's got a Kombi Skorcha, Power Claw. He rolled Intimidating Presence on his Warlord trait, so that is pointless more or less, because enemy units within 12 inches will use their lowest leadership. I don't think Richard's got any mixed leadership unit, so that's pointless. I then have 2 squads of 10 shooters. One squad's got Ork Boyz, just to make up the points really, and a 20 boy squad mob, should I say, of choppers, sluggers and choppers. Their knob there has got a Power Claw and Bosspole. They've also all got hard armor as well. I didn't say that he's just got a Bosspole and he's just got a Bosspole on those knobs. Are more or less what you see is what you get. At the back here I've got a Deffkoptas with a big bomb on it. One of my 3 Deffkoptas that's actually finished. And then here, just my latest addition, is my Blitza-bommer. That is just what you see is what you get, just the normal Blitza-bomber. He's not got the red paint job, even though he is red.
While we're here then, just tell them what you made that bomb out of on your Deffkoptas, because I think that's a nice conversion.
Oh yeah, okay, well you might be able to see the base bit of the bomb is 2 Space Marine shoulder pads glued together, and then you can probably tell, well if I tell you, the rest of it is part of a silencer, I think, a Grey Knight silencer attached, so it's just glued on the side. We hadn't quite got into magnets at that stage. If we had, I probably would have magnetised that, but It's just stuck on there for the moment. I think it looks quite cool. I'm quite happy with that. Another quick note here. I'm quite pleased with. I was quite pleased with this paint job for the bomber, and then I used Purity Seal to coat it in a nice protective layer, like I've done all the Orks so far, no problems. And then I've got some nice, good frosting here in various parts, which is really annoying. It's the first time Purity Seal has done that for me, so I think it was something I've done wrong. But yeah, so I don't know how I'm going to fix that yet.
Oh, and I think I forgot to say that my Trigon is a Trigon Prime.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He is a Trigon Prime.
Even better. That's even more terrible.
So I think for 40 points it's well worth the extra synapse and twice as many shots.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so my Ork army, unfortunately, I don't feel is really that competitive. He's got a lot of options in there just to make them 800 points worth. But I'm still happy to be using my Blitza-bommer and, in fact, Deffkoptas and Warboss for the first time. It'd be interesting to see how these guys perform.
It's our first time putting Tyranids up against Orks. It should be an exciting one, I think.
Okay, so this is deployment. Today we're playing Crusade, and we rolled on the deployment map and it was Vanguard Strike, so the deployments, the table was divided, sorry, along that line, so as you can see the Tyranids on that side and the Orks on that side. I got to pick the side and I also got to deploy first, so that was good, as always. The boys are just lined up here, obviously the boss is there, the Deffkoptas is there, and the other boys on that side. So this squad here, sorry, are the ones without hard armour, and this squad have got it. And along here, just got his deployment. There's his long line of Hormigants along the front there, a can line, and there's Tyranid warriors, and all the way back here is his Hive Tyrant. And then just quickly the objectives. There's one there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. We got the maximum amount of objectives for Crusade.
Also can line, Endless Swarm.
There's his can line of Hormigan dancers or river dancers, depending on how they feel. Richard's just going to roll forward to see if he can seize the initiative.
I never seize the initiative. No, there's my customary one.
And then just in case, the plane's obviously in reserve there, and Trigons in Deep Strike reserve. Boys have all just shuffled up a little bit, and yeah, actually just to point out, we didn't have night fighting. We rolled and there was no night fighting, so that's a thing. These boys have just moved up. That was a scatter field when I identified it. Not actually rolled to see what that one is yet, because I've only just moved into range of it. And this squad have just sort of shuffled forward. The Deffkoptas just hovered around at the back here, and then that would be the end of Ork Movement and Psychic. In fact, I've got no Psychers this time, no weird boys to play with this time. So the Ork big shooters all just unleashed their firepower into this first squad of Hormigants, and they brought down 2 of the Hormigants in this little squad.
So the Gaunts have all sort of pushed forwards. The Termagants over here have swarmed forwards very nicely. I've done the run moves for everyone already. So the Tyranid warriors haven't run, and that's pretty much it.
And your Hive Tyrant here, was he ran as well, didn't
he? He was in swooping mode and he ran, yeah.
From all the way over there.
Yeah.
And swooped right down.
So we've got a little bit of Psychic to do, because the Hive Tyrant, before he did his run move, was in range of 1 unit of Ork Boyz, so he can try his Horror and Paroxysm, possibly. And then the Tyranid warriors will get some shooting, and that'll be it for this turn for the Tyranids. So in the psychic phase, the Hive Tyrant unleashed the horror and paroxysm on the closest unit of Ork Boyz. They were able to deny paroxysm. The horror went through okay. They completely failed their leadership test.
They freaked out.
They freaked out and started beating themselves, didn't they?
Well, yeah, I guess it could go either way. They would start freaking out, but the knob just clobbered one of them and they all got back into some sort of order. Or they just freaked out and started hitting each other. Anyway, they suffered one hit, but they passed their armor.
So the only actual shooting for this turn was the Tyranid warrior with his barbed strangler. A nice large blast hit loads of orcs and resulted in 3 orcs dead.
So these guys, this Deffkoptas just buzzed over here, just to the left, skirting around at the back, sort of skulking around. These guys have shuffled up a little bit more. This mob in the back with the Warboss in it have sort of run, well not run, but you know, moved around here. This mob here has just shuffled forward a little bit more, spread out a bit to try and perhaps take less damage from barrage weapons, from blast weapons even. And then my bomber arrived from reserves, and he has flown in a good nearly 30 inches from that table edge and dropped one of his bombs. There we go, so it's gone off the little wing there, on this Hormigant squad there and killed 6 Hormigants.
Successful debut, I would say, for Mr. Bomber.
Successful. He didn't crash into them, which I was thinking might have happened. I mean, it would have been hilarious if he'd immediately come in and then just crashed into the ground, but he hasn't done that. He has dropped his bomb off. He rolled just a normal roll on Screaming Descent. I'm a bit worried about the Hive Tyrant, who may just kill him next turn, but never mind. He's come in, he's dropped his bomb off, and he's having a great time. All the boys have unleashed their firepower. This squad here shot at these Hormigants and killed a couple of those. This squad here with all their sluggers and the Warboss's dagger guns shot at these Hormigants and killed a few of those. This shooter squad over here shot at these Hormigants and killed, I think, sort of four of those. The rocket launcher didn't do anything. He fired but missed. Over here, the Blitza-bommer unleashed his twin-link super shooter and took 2 wounds off that first Tyranid warrior, which is another good success. Not quite killing him, as Richard said. He's still there, unfortunately. But yeah, another couple of wounds off him. The Orks made their charge. Just barely, actually. They had to run through difficult terrain and re-rolled one of the dice for the charge range. Just scraped through, so they got in there. The Hormigants obviously went first and tore down 2 Ork Boyz. And then the mob attacked. And I got, how many wounds was it just now then? 23. 23. Yeah, 23 wounds, which saved 2 of them, so the squad has been truly ripped to pieces. The Warboss and the Knob with their power claws didn't even get to go.
So everyone just moved forward, and the Hive Tyrant activated his psychic abilities, called on the powers of the Hive Mind, successfully paroxysmed the Warboss's unit. Only took off 1, unfortunately, but that does counteract the effects of his lucky stick. And then he also successfully cast the horror on the Shoota boys behind the Warboss, who are now grounded. So the Hive Tyrant, with 12 twin-linked strength 6 shots, re-rollable, lined up his attacks on the bomber there. Only needed 3s to hit. The total out of 12 twin-link shots. Well, it was bad. It was bad. I can't remember exactly what I got. But I ended up with 1 glancing hit and 2 pens. He took the glancing hit and successfully jinked both the pens.
Down to 2 hull points.
The Hive Tyrant took 1 hull point off the bomber. That was spectacularly bad.
Awful shooting. I was really expecting him to be dead.
So he's fine. Let's dejectedly roll up the rest of the shooting. So obviously I didn't say, but the Trigon didn't come in. I rolled my customary 1 for that. And with the rest of the shooting, everything shot at the Warboss's mob of boys there, and I didn't do too bad on my rolls, but the Orks, their heavy armour, whatever it's called, was it called Ardboy or something?
Yeah, Ard armour.
Yeah, that saved a ridiculous amount of them. Only 3 Orks died.
Yeah, that was some awesome rolling by my armour saves.
Well, to be fair, I suppose the cover save would have been exactly the same thing.
Equal as well, actually.
But either way, it was your good dice rolling that saved a lot of Orks. The swarm charges, and the Orks did really well with their Overwatch, as Jonathan does really well with any dice rolling. So 4 Hormigants went down. There was a unit wiped out, first unit to be wiped out.
I guess that's first blood then, isn't it? I guess.
It's first blood, and I'll have to roll to see if they come back in.
Yep.
And I rolled pretty well on my ranges, so everyone's in there. So we've got a fight coming up.
Yep. I think I just mentioned actually that I got first blood when I wiped out one of these squads, but I'd already done that last turn actually when the Warboss's mob squished a Tyranid unit. So that was already first blood last time, sorry. 2 Hormigant units are definitely coming on again. One got wiped out in this combat. There's 3, there's 1 Termagant left in that squad, and then these guys have got still some remaining in that one. So these Termagants are still tied up, as is the Warboss's squad in this ongoing assault.
Only 3 Orks died.
Only 3 Orks died out of a lot of attacks. These boys have moved up, still a bit closer to the Tyranid warriors over there, and the Deffkoptas just hovering above that hill. I started to move these guys until I realised, well, Richard told me that they were pinned, so they may look like they may have moved, but they shouldn't have. So I've tried to put them back to where they roughly were. These guys are all sort of tied up in this assault still, so that's the end of my movement.
The bomber left.
Oh yeah, and because he wasn't even on here, that's why I forgot him. The bomber has left combat air, so he's through over here off the table edge. Now, just another little question for people. We have looked through the rules and determined that if he is jinked, he can't make a bombing run. Correct us if we're wrong?
The reason we're giving for that is because the bomb is a blast weapon, and in the bombing run rules it says that dropping a bomb counts as firing a weapon, and since he's jinked, any firing would be snapshots now, and you can't fire a blast weapon as a snapshot. And we did a Google search and people on there seem to agree with us, but if anyone disagrees with us and can really make a good case for why, please go ahead and let us know.
Seems to make sense though, as he was like weaving wildly from side to side, he couldn't really line up another bombing run. So yeah, he has left off this table edge and will be coming back on next turn, which is probably best for him actually, to keep him safe. Probably shouldn't have survived this long, but yeah, it's good that he's come. The boys over here have unleashed their firepower on the Tyranid warriors, but didn't manage to do any wounds. I think some good saves there.
Cover saves.
Cover saves are made. The rocket guy hit, and wounded, but Richard made a cover save again with the ruins there.
Which was fantastic. Well, that would have been an instant kill on a full strength Tyranid warrior.
That first one, so yeah, he hit. He did well with his twin linkedness there. Over here, I got a lot of 6s for shooting at the Hive Tyrant, which they wouldn't have needed anyway because they're all lying on the floor pinned, and yeah, I got I don't know, a ridiculous amount of 6s.
So many hits, no wounds.
No wounds there, so yeah, that was a result of that shooting. So in this assault I finished off one of the Termagant squads, and is that coming in again? I don't think that's not coming in next turn, is it?
No.
And there's 2 left on the last one, and then another Ork boy was brought down in the assault. The Warboss crumped 4 of the Termagants, and that carries on though because there's still 2 left.
So the Endless Swarms are swarming back on. They've already done their run and bounding leap to get them that far. The Hive Tyrant has swooped over behind all the Orcs now. Obviously the Trigon didn't come in. I rolled my customary 1 again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I roll a lot of 1s. I don't know if I've whined about that constantly before.
Yeah, whined about it a fair amount.
I think I've whined about it constantly before. And the Tyranid Warriors shuffled forward a bit. I've done the Psychic. The Hive Mind was very successful again. We've paroxysmed this unit of boys here. Rolled maximum this time, yep. So they are fully spasming out at the moment.
Yep.
And then I put the horror on the other group of boys who passed it this time. They're getting used to that, apparently.
Past that leadership test, yeah, that's fine, that's old news.
So let's do some shooting.
Yeah, and a cheer goes up as more Tyranids come on for the Orcs to kill. Hey, Orcs are loving it.
So everyone with a gun opened up on the Shoota boys in the ruins. And
well, yeah.
They probably should have gone to ground.
Oh yeah, I didn't know, I forgot.
He didn't. They took that right on the chin. The very last shot killed the knob. He tried desperately, he pulled one Ork boy in front of him, but it wasn't enough. He needed one more Ork boy and he just didn't have it next to him. So the knob went down, the Orcs busted their initiative.
It's their table edge.
They've legged it.
Yeah, sprinting 11 inches away. Yeah, that's
a successful shooting phase. I think the assault phase is going to be brief.
So yeah, the boys here finished off the last of the termagants and have just consolidated 1 inch. And I think the termagants are coming on again, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, they successfully came on next time. The bomber has flown back on again. He's obviously looped around the battlefield, gained a bit of altitude, and has come diving back in. I couldn't actually get him anywhere to do a successful bombing run, really. He was a bit too far away, so he's going to just perhaps have a go at shooting the Hive Tyrant. Not quite as effective as he could have been, but never mind, he's come back for another go. Deffkoptas not really moved, he just sat there. These boys have lined themselves up to face this wall of river dancing hormigants, and then these boys moved through their cover and got a bit closer to the Tyranid warriors with a view to kill in close combat. So the bomber has dived in from off the table, unleashing his super shooters on the Hive Tyrant, but did not do anything. Did he even hit? I don't think he even hit. No hits at all. However, on this side, the Deffkopta, hovering there above the hill, managed to intercept the swooping Hive Tyrant.
A lone rocket.
A lone rocket fizzed off, smacked into the Hive Tyrant, caused a wound, caused the Hive Tyrant to come crashing down to the floor.
Well, yeah, so let's just back up slightly. What number do I always roll?
Oh, you always roll 1s.
I always roll 1s. So I rolled a 1 for my grounding test.
Yeah.
And then I had to roll to see what his strength 9 hit from grounding did to him. And what number do I always roll?
You rolled a 1.
I rolled a 1, so it didn't do any damage, and he's now on the ground.
So he's down to 3 wounds. He is on the ground, which could be quite dangerous, but yeah, he's been grounded this turn.
It's an awesome shot from
the It was a great little rocket from the Deffkopta. If there was more of them in that little squad, that would be awesome. Over here, these boys shot and killed 2 hormigants in the front row, and over here, the Warboss unleashed his Skorcha and burnt one of the Tyranid warriors to death. The other boys didn't cause any wounds. There was a lot of armour saves there.
I think with these boys in front of the gaunts here, it seemed like you perhaps forgot that they had paroxysm on them.
Yeah.
So they rocked up to my hormigants and then couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
Well,
they're going to charge anyway, but yeah.
Not couldn't shoot, but couldn't shoot well.
Couldn't shoot well. Worse than Orks, if that's possible. So these guys have made it into assault. There was a Overwatch hit and wound, but I saved it, so that's fine, and they're all in there. And then over here, these Ork boys have all charged this first rank of hormigants. I thought
that is 2 separate units.
Yeah, I considered the back row is another unit. I considered charging it as well, but after weighing up I didn't. So we've got 2 assaults to resolve assault. And this little assault There was 2 Ork Boyz go down, 2 Hormagaunts go down, so this is a draw. Even with their paroxysm on the Boyz, they managed to kill a couple of Hormagaunts, so that will carry on, and I suspect those other Hormagaunts there are going to charge into combat. Over here the Boyz obviously made it into Tyranid Assault. The Tyranids caused 1 wound and made the armour save. The Boyz softened up the Tyranid warriors, so took them down a few wounds, but then the Warboss with his power claw instant killed the 2 remaining Tyranid warriors. So they have won and have just consolidated a little bit more into the ruins, just shuffling them out a bit.
So turn 4 now, and the Orks rushing into the ruins there have found themselves caught in a bit of an ambush, with a Trygon tunneling up on one side of them, a Hive Tyrant gliding over on the other, and a group of Termagants walking up there in the middle. Termagants, whatever shall they do? We'll see. I'm going to try and kill the Warlord now. That's what I want, is to slay the Warlord. Really just break the back of this force now. And I don't know if we'd ever said, but that objective that the Orks are currently sitting on there is Skyfire.
Yeah,
which is why I didn't want to just go back to swooping my Hive Tyrant and then let them just Skyfire at him. So we're just going to move in for the kill, try and snip the head off of that Warboss with any luck. And in the psychic phase, I paroxysmed the Warboss and his unit, got the full effect on that, so they are fairly well nerfed now. Because they were out of synapse, and because I rolled terribly, the back row of Gaunts ate each other. They lost 40% of their unit as I took my eye for them a second, and they chowed down on themselves. Fun shooting phase. The Termagants open fire with their flesh borers. Hive Tyrant open fire with his twin devourers, with his brain leaf worms, brain leech worms, whatever they are. The Trygon opened fire with his containment spines, and all together they did a massive number of wounds. The Orks ended up saving 12 of them with their armour or their cover, whichever, it's the same 4 up, and took 11 unsaved wounds. So just the Knob and the Boss left now, but both of them still on full wounds, ready for the Hive Tyrant to charge in. So the Hive Tyrant declared a challenge towards the Warboss, but the Knob cockily stepped up and took that himself, getting ripped in half, of course, before he could do anything. And then the Warboss, with his lucky stick, really needed it since he'd been paroxysmed, and perhaps didn't ask enough of the lucky stick, because the Hive Tyrant still is sitting there on 1 wound.
Over here, the Orks have finished off the Hormagaunts squad that they were fighting. I think the Hormagaunts took down 1 Ork, and they've just consolidated along this way.
Those boys do seem to be having a great time.
Yeah, having a great time. An endless stream of Tyranids coming in for them just to kill. They're killing squad after squad, and they just keep coming.
Well, it's slowing down to a trickle now.
Yeah. So the bomber swung around and screaming descent down upon the Trygon's head. I did debate for a while where he should drop his bomb. It probably wasn't the most effective, but I wanted to try and do some wounds on the Trygon. It landed directly. I just rolled a 9 on the screaming descent table, so that was just a normal bombing run. The Trygon, however, did not get wounded at all, so he just bounced off his head, or as Richard said, he just ate the bomb as it dropped. So over here the Deffkoptas just moved in range of the Trygon as well, and these guys have just shuffled along next to the Hormiguns, hopefully to try and get near this objective.
I think it's important to know as well that your Deffkopta is sitting on an objective.
Yeah, and the turn, the game could end this turn 5. So I'm just trying to think about the objectives of the Deffkopta's got 1. Hopefully these boys can get to another, so that would be 2. I've currently got First Blood. I think Richard's probably going to get to slay the Warlord, but
one of us is.
One of us is. So yeah, we'll see what happens. The boys here have just let rip on the Hormiguns, killing 2 of them. The Deffkopta had a go at shooting the Trygon but completely missed. And I think that's the end of the shooting phase then. And
interesting point to note, the Hormiguns, being out of synapse range, actually went to ground.
Oh yeah, that's right, they're hiding on the ground.
And that saved one of them from the shooting.
They can do that now.
They can actually just bury their heads in the snow since they're far enough away from the Hive Tyrant.
So the Orks here did not lose a single Ork and killed the rest of the Hormiguns. Consolidated a good 5 inches up to that objective.
And they're not coming back.
And they're not coming back, are they? Okay, that's just been rolled up and they are not coming back. Important. And over here, as you can see, the Hive Tyrant got killed. He got killed. Essentially, at the end of the day, the Warboss grabbed him in his pince move, and even with his weapon skill of 3, grabbed him in his power claw and wrestled him to the ground and tore him to pieces on the top of his Warbike.
He took a wound in the doing of it.
He has taken a wound, and he did use his lucky stick a couple of times to re-roll things, but the Hive Tyrant only had 1 wound left, and he is gone now, so that's another point for me. Slay the Warlord, so that's 2 victory points for me so far. And let's just consolidate him and go into Richard's turn 5.
So the Termagants and the Trygon there all blasted away on the Warboss, and he would have died from the barrage of living ammunition, but he used his lucky stick.
He was batting away the living ammunition with his stick, waving it around his head.
So the Ork Warboss here, who has just crumped a flying Hive Tyrant, is now facing off against a Tyranid Trygon Prime. The Prime getting to go first, and with a flurry of blows, actually only causing 2 wounds in the end against the Warboss, who's feel no pain. Did it save one of them?
Yeah, he got a roll of 6 for his Cybork body, feel no pain, but failed the other.
Fortunately for the Warboss, the last unsaved wound was enough to take him down.
Knocked him down by the Trygon.
However, ignore all that, because the game ends now, and the Orks certainly have the advantage holding 2 objectives to my 1. So yeah, Orks win.
So yeah, that was.
I gotta say, really, not to take anything away from Jonathan, but I threw that game away. When the Hive Tyrant charged at the Warboss, I did that purely because I thought it would look cinematic and awesome, and he should have just played it safe. He should have just kept flying around, shooting things.
Yeah.
He could have picked off that Deffkopta and those boys that are winning the game easily, no problem. There wouldn't really have been anything that could have hurt him. He could have just flown around with impunity, doing what I needed him to do. Instead, I got stupid with him, charged him in, got him killed, and lost the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, threw that away. But it was a really fun game. I think the Trygon performed well when he showed up. He got to kill the Warboss in his first ever outing. I'm happy with that. And I expect Jonathan's happy with the debut of his bomber.
Yeah, well, it was the debut of my Warboss as well. Actually, he's done a lot of killing. He's killed a lot of stuff with his claw. He's chopped through a lot of gaunts. The Hive Tyrant in the end, it took a lot of firepower to bring him down. So yeah, pleased with him. And yeah, of course, the bomber did not expect him to still be here. I mean, by rights, he shouldn't be. The Hive Tyrant should have killed him, really. But he's still here. flying around. He's dropped both his bombs off. It looks like he will just fly off now after accomplishing his mission.
In my defence as well, I did display a spectacularly terrible rolling as usual.
Yeah, and the Deffkoptas again, the first time I've used him, he's just done really well. I mean, he's just flying around taking pot shots, took a wound off the Hive Tyrant, which actually it turns out has been significant. As Richard said, he shouldn't have really charged him into the Warboss really, but yeah, that happened. And then I just like the way he could just have zoomed around collecting objectives, and he's just holding that one there. So,
and you know what? If we weren't filming this, I wouldn't have made that charge. I wanted to look cool for the people watching at home. So you know what, everybody? That was your fault.
This is your fault, guys.
This is your fault.
Your fault. Anyway, yeah, so I'm still pleased with the way the boys, just regular boys, I just love them. I think they're such a great unit. They always perform really well. I just killed a lot of Gaunts. The Orcs were having a great time. Wave after wave of Gaunts coming, but you were unlucky with that as well. Actually, you didn't get many of your units coming in. And really, if your Trigon had come in early on, I think this would have been a lot different. He would have just munched through so many Orcs.
Yeah. I was just so completely unlucky. So since I was so unlucky, and since you guys at home cost me the game, I think you should all go ahead and like and subscribe for me.
Yeah, and keep checking out our channel for further Batrep with our armies you're seeing here. We're just constantly adding to them and improving them and making more exciting Batrep for you.
Nice work.